we are going to make speedy fish trays. It's a tray that my wife does one at a time, carving each tray. They take quite a long time to do, and I watched her do it, and I thought we could make those faster. So we're going to do these. We're going to show you how to make these, and then we're going to make these in 5 minutes, because these are actually really cute and basically easy to make. We're going to be making some of these, a whole box full of molds, all for free. And these are the raw pieces of styrofoam that come as my packing material. So when you cut this stuff, make sure you wear a COVID mask. Anyway, I'm using a bandsaw. You don't have to. You can use a X-Acto knife. You can use a craft knife. You can sand them just with sandpaper, whatever you want to do. But just wear a mask. And I'm just cutting. If I can show you this with this cheap bandsaw. So all I do. Give myself a nice bevel here, and you can sand the rough edges off. I'll see what it feels like after I've got one or two out. I think that should be fine anyway. The hard styrofoam is actually much thicker, and I'm just going to see whether it will work. So that's a pretty nice quick mold that costs nothing, because this was packing material that was shipped to me when I ordered something, maybe even this piece of equipment. And everything that's left over is packing material. And after you finish work, if not while you're doing the work, turn this on. You've got to get the air clean, because I've got fine particles of plastic floating around now. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do for those who can throw on the wheel is we're going to make the roller stamp, and it's going to be a fairly large one. Well, let's see, this is my noisy wheel, so I am not going to allow you to listen to all that kind of squeaking and whistling that this wheel does. But I am basically going to throw a totally thick cylinder, and what it will be is totally sort of smooth on the outside, and I think about an inch thick, about 2.5 centimeters thick, and the idea is that I can cut through the center of this vertically, and I'll end up with two half circles that are an inch thick with no bottom in the piece, that I can then attach a handle on the inside and carve the outside. So I'll let you watch this. So I am now going to show you, for those of you who can't throw, how to do the same thing. So I'm going to cut off a piece of clay. If I can get it to go through here. Whoa.
This is that tool which I tell everybody you should make. A piece of rebar, or you can, somebody manufacturer should start making these. It even has measurements so you can cut slabs of a certain thickness up and down here. I got this in England like 40 years ago. That's way too much clay. So I'm going to say that that's the size of the stamp that I'm going to make. I almost don't have to roll it actually. So now I've got two pieces of wood, which I think I'm going to have a good thickness when I finish doing this now. And then using one of your wheel wires, or if you have one of these, you can just use one of these, of course. And it's perfectly level. It doesn't have to be totally square here. You can actually round off the edges if you want to, just maybe it's nicer with rounded edges. Okay, so now we have a thin one, which we can see whether this will work, and we have a thick one, which will definitely work. So I'm just going to round off the edges of this. Now I'm going to cut something to hold on the back of the stamp. So these are going to be like handles that I can hold the stamp to roll with. Same with this one. So these don't have to, these could be rough. You can make them nice if you want to. They just have to be so you can get your hand in. We're going to have to cut a curve on this part underneath here, depending on the curve we get on those. Now everybody has one of these, an old paint can. And this one has paint in it, and I got the lid tight on so it won't fall out. That would be embarrassing. So then I'm going to take my slab, the thin one first. I'm going to put it over here. That's good. Almost did it wrong. So the actual curve matches the actual paint can shape. There you go. And I'm going to let this dry for a little while so it stiffens up and it won't have any marks put into it. And then set this aside to dry. Now we've got the thick one to do. I'm trying not to leave fingerprints in this. Or change the shape too much. It's touching all the way around. I'll have to keep checking to make sure it's not flattening out again. But this one now gets to sit there and dry for a while too. Now this thrown one is going to have to sit until I can actually handle it without it bending its shape. So we're talking several hours. So for you, just a couple of seconds. Now this is my handle that is going to go on the back of here. So what I'm going to do is take it up to that point there, in the middle there, and put some pressure on so I get a transfer of the actual can curve so I know where to cut. Magic. I have an instant, easy to hold handle that will be glued on the back of this. Well, not glued, it will be attached with slip. And so this will be my handle to make it easy to roll the stamp like that. Same with the other one. This is made out of Fimo clay with five sewing needles just pushed in, and then the clay allowed to dry. And it just means that when I'm scratching, I can scratch 5 lines at a time. And that you can go quite deep with these, whereas those little metal ribs that you can buy that are serrated edges, you don't go very deep. And then you dribble water in. That's one, same again with the other. Alright, we got it. How fast that was to score and scratch and get a nice amount of slip there. Now I need a clean back. Now I am going to sketch my fish. Okay, so I just got a little piece of wood and just sanded it to a square. You could use a little piece of styrofoam, that firm packing material that we've been using a lot in pottery, kind of making your molds, because that will work just as well. It might wear out a bit faster. This will last longer. So now I'm going to make a pattern using this to stamp in. So these will actually stand out in the finished piece. There'll be a little square. Basic pattern. Oh, I missed 2 bars. It gives us a diamond pattern for the fish. And then if you want to make sure you've got this area smoothed out so there's no pattern there, you just take your tool. I'm going to put the fins over this area. And the same on top. But what I'm going to do is, using this to make the fins, is just roll this deep. I'm going to smooth out part of that. So we've got some, you can see the idea. And then this area at the top there, very careful. This, I don't mind that bit down there, but that one is a little bit, I'm just thinking where it would be best to make that. I think. There you go. Just to kind of make the fins stand out a little bit more. So this may take a little time to make this, but you're actually going to be able to make more, repetitive prints of this stamp instantly onto trays, which the trays take a while to make when you carve each one on its own. But this is going to make it so you can make them instantly. Okay, down here I liked it, so I'm just going to leave it. I should turn this around a bit more. It's hard for me to work on it too, but when I'm doing this angle here. So I think that's done, yeah. And then this part, I noticed this tool gives me that mouth instantly. You can see that. You didn't do any scratching or scoring because the clay is actually quite soft. Okay, this is one of those sgraffito tools that has a ball on the end. So you can put an eye in there, leave a little dent, and let's see, maybe I want the bit more kind of definition on this little area here. I actually feel like the fish would look nice if it had a couple of teeth on there. How should I do that? Maybe I should, this may be hard to do, but let's try. If I put the teeth as a dent in, that means they're going to stand out in the finished piece. So let's just try that. I think I'll use the back of the tool. Now this, as I said, when I did teeth on cats, they actually didn't sell very well. So now we have teeth on the fish. And do we want to have some random sort of weedy looking things here? Let's see what we have in my toolbox. I have this that I made years ago to make flower petals, but it would work as leaves too. So I'm simply going to stamp this to look like seaweed coming up, like little leaves. You could do, actually we could make it a pattern totally. I can't do the back yet, but we got to make the back stand out too. So we want it to be, so this is actually built up, and this will be built up. So I'm just going to define that. I'm not good left-handed, so I have to try and figure this so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to push down a little bit. And here's the other tool. I can do the same with this. And then the fins, if I want them to stand up, I've got to carve in, and if I want them to recessed, I will carve and make it stand up at this point. So it doesn't matter either way I do it, I guess, but let's just kind of make some marks. And we can smooth those out a little bit because they are a bit deep. I want to wet the area where I'm going to press the leaves though. And then I'm going to try and square it off a little bit. And there we have an original press stamp that's kind of large. I don't think it needs much else. I'm pretty sure that's all we need. I suppose we could make some marks if you want to really put, because if we put a lot of time into this and it looks really good, then it won't matter how, because it'll still be really fast to do. But what we could do is kind of work on this a little bit, make some marks within the triangles. Finally, I think it's done. I want to get rid of anything that looks horrible on this. I'm going to have to turn it upside down onto some bubble wrap next. Okay, I have to lift it off here. Let's see if I can get it to come off here because we did a lot of stamping. Place it on here where it will lose its shape a little bit. Make a mark on this where this is going to go. I'll score. So we got it nice and scored, and this was already done. And I'm just going to sit that on top of there. I can get this to straighten up a little bit after I set it on the right way up. This will hold it to shape. The sponge is basically stopping me from marking the inside. And then take my tool. It doesn't matter where I grab the clay from, but I'm going to turn it around for you and just try and grab some from both sides from the flat piece. And then I'm going to cut through. Let's try and do this level. So we've got our handle. It's not super big, because all we need is that to hold on to. We can clean up a little bit as it firms up. But now we have a stamp that we can press onto large pieces of clay to make a very fast tray. This is the thinner one, which I'm going to put you on fast motion, stop motion, because you know the process now, but this will be a different pattern, of course. Okay, this is the thrown piece, and it's now about 5-6 hours later. So I'm simply going to cut it right down the middle, and then I'm going to pull it to one side, and that would separate that one. And I've put a paint can here with cling film saran wrap around it. Let's make sure it doesn't wander off there. There you go. And then I'm going to lift this and place it on here. Isn't that nice that fit exactly? I didn't even measure it. And I got the other one there, which I can do afterwards. So we're going to paint now. We're going to carve. We are going to carve now and draw out what we did earlier on. Okay, so I've done a wavy motion on this piece. I forgot to turn the camera on, just by using my tool like this. Instead of putting leaves or seaweed in them, I thought I'd just do a wavy one on this one. And then I just took a brush and smoothed out, giving the effect of water. Some of this, as you're rolling it into the clay, may not show up anyway, but enough will. So, 2 smaller fish. I'll clean this up a bit tomorrow, and 1 bigger fish. Looking for food. Okay, this one was the last piece of the throne form, so I've got 2 of these pieces from the throne form. I don't want it to fall off. And they're on cling film on the paint can, so they will be easy to release tomorrow morning. I think I have to sharpen that last little piece up there. It's there. But just to kind of define that edge a little piece. So it'll be exciting to see now, with all the free forms, free slump mold, and actually hump mold forms that I've made from free stuff. And now we can actually, when these are bisquified, press them into the clay and then slump over the top of those molds to get instant trays. Speedy fish trays. We haven't seen this little guy for a while. Time I clean that window, isn't it? Whether it's the same one, I don't know. This is the evening. It's been whistling, but this is a quiet evening. It's about 6, yeah, it's nearly 7 o'clock. What am I kidding? I'm working a bit late today. And there's Mrs. Raccoon. Hi, Mrs. Raccoon. People in Europe don't see those guys. Oh, there's 2 of them.
another one poking his head up. This is their time of day. Okay, this isn't bisque fired yet, but it's almost dry. So I'm going to give you a quick preview of what it will look like, because I rolled a slab out here and it's pretty soft. And I'm thinking what I should do is maybe put a layer of cling film on this slab so it doesn't stick to this and maybe ruin it, because this has not been bisque fired yet. Okay, I can try this with the cling film on and see what happens. It's so thick that I don't think I can break it at this point. So I'm just going to place it on the surface. Let's get it on so it doesn't, it's on a wheel, so I don't want it to turn. So I'm going to press really hard. And I think the cling film has stopped it from going in as well, but it did pretty good. I would do this again. Okay, I'm taking the cling film off. Let's see what happens this time. I've got to do it so it doesn't stick to the clay. That's the problem. Much better. But I still need to work on it. Okay, I'm going to try. I wasn't happy with that one, so let's try it this way. And then I'm going to rock it over and come back the other way. Much better again. Nothing stuck in the mold. So this is the tray shape that we've got there. And it's, because I rocked it to the left and the right, the center wasn't quite, so we've got to work on that a little. So nothing is stuck to the piece already, so I can try it one more time. I don't want to take too much moistness. So I've got to go, I think I've got to go forward, and then coming back I'm going to lean to the left, and coming back I'm going to, again, I'll lean to the right and see what happens this time. Perfect, this time perfect. There you go. So that's how fast I can make a tray with a decorative element to it. I've just got to slump mold it over a piece of styrofoam next. Okay, so we got 2 trays to slump mold over a mold. But I'm going to wait for a little while for these to stiffen up a little bit, so that when I slump mold them, they don't make dents in the actual clay. Okay, I've had these pretty much just firming up all day, and it's 100% humidity today. So this is the mold that fits them closest, I should say. It's one of the new ones. You just brush off. You can see lots of little bits of styrofoam falling off. I've got my filter running right there. You have to be careful breathing in fine particles of anything. And then I'm going to sit this. Let's see if I can do it. The slab should have firmed up a little bit. It's been raining all day, so yeah, it's firmed up a little bit. So we can sit it and let's see if I can get it lined up properly. It's not exact, I guess. A little not uneven. It's wider than it's longer than it is wide, but it's close, which is all we need for a demonstration. And then I could just push it into a piece of foam. That would work, but I kind of don't mind paddling. I think I have more control when I paddle. And it doesn't hurt while it's upside down.
bit of smooth off the bottom. Somebody with a nice expensive piece of furniture will really thank you for doing that. And we sell these trays, small ones, so, you know, very inexpensive, but these ones are generally in the $24, $29 range. So if you can make one as fast as I just did this, you can actually end up making some money at a craft fair. Let's see if I can get a piece of paper down so we can see what we have. And it should just lift out. You can put cling film on these if you wanted to. And I can see it. Ooh. But it has squashed down a bit, so when I do these after the firing, I'll be able to press on a lot harder to actually make those. And I think what I would do is make the slab a lot bigger, so the fish is in the center. So I'll make a mold that fits these when I've got them fired, so the fishes are all in the center. But you can see basically it's very fast to actually make a little tray. Let's hope after the firing, because they're very thick, they don't blow up. I've got them sitting on a kiln that I'm firing indoors today because it's only about 60 degrees today. It's very chilly today. Alright, but that's pretty quick to make a tray. Let's try. I wonder if I can try the other one. I think put that down there. Does it fit better on this one? Maybe the foam would be better, since paddling squashed away a bit of the texture. Yeah, that's a sort of a nice shape, I guess. So it's relatively even. Could be twisted over just a touch. Maybe it doesn't need to be quite as, you know, sort of tightly formed, and then you wouldn't lose as much texture. Because remember, it's a tray. It doesn't have to have a wall. It should lift out. Oh, much better. Yeah, okay. See the mouth? Let's see if the light will shine better on this. You can see the mouth, the eye shows up. The leaves are not quite as good as I would have hoped, but they are showing up. And you've even got the little pattern inside each diamond showing up. So that was very good. So that was like just such a fast tray. And then of course you just smooth the edges again to show that you care about somebody not cutting themselves. Clean up edges all the time, and clean up the underside too. Speedy fish trays. That's a pretty nice little tray. And of course this is the first time I've done this, so if you try this and then you get really good at it, you could be, you know, producing these like once every 5 minutes. Okay, I have made this mold so it fits this piece of clay, so it just exactly fits, so I can actually get a tray out of this. I can cut off the extra clay right now, although I think when I push the mold into it, it might actually... This is actually B-Mix 5, which I don't like for doing hand building, but it was a spare piece of clay I had sitting around, so I'm going to use it. It'll be worth experimenting, see if it works, since these are so fast to make now. Okay, so we've got a piece of clay the size of the mold, a little bit over. I'm going to round it off at the edges, since that little corner was a little rounded, and I may cut it down anyway. So let's see what happens. It's actually the width of that part there, so I'm going to try and place this sort of in them even, and I'll test it before I roll the whole thing. Let's see down there, so we've got to, oh look at that, it makes some marks straight away. I think it's heavy. Yeah, that's about right. So I don't think those will matter, so I'm going to press remember, this has not been
bisque fired, so I'm just basically cheating. I don't want to break it either, so I've got to be a little careful. So I rocked it back and forth so it's like, ooh, it's working. Look at that. So now I'm going to slump this over the top. This is a big tray. And I'm going to flip it. Take the paper off and put it back on the tray. Where's my wheel? There it is. Now we showed that you can paddle, which actually might reduce the texture a little bit, so I'm just going to press this down. So we try not to lose much of the texture. Doesn't matter on the edge because there's no texture on the edge anyway. So maybe I should just paddle as long as I don't paddle on the actual bottom area. Okay. So I'm going to put this back on. Put this back on. And then flip. And try and get it off. So I did paddle a little bit there. I could put cling film over these, remember, if I wanted to stop it sticking. But it came off anyway. Let's see if I can get some clean water here. My wife told me to round off my edges. There we go. Which I thought I did do. And we have another tray. See, it's got a lip that lifts up a little bit, and we have a fish with two baby fish following in behind. And the texture actually worked really good. It actually took on a little bit of the texture of the styrofoam in the corners there. So when it's a little firmer, I'm going to take my brush, but it's too soft at the moment. I have a squirrel in my studio. Okay, so I'll do this in the morning. But we know it works now.